Welcome back to the Drive to Succeed podcast. We have a very special guest today. I know 90% of us right now are in isolation. That's why I brought to you an expert who can assist us in, staying positive and really making use the downtime really, useful. And now with no other than special guest today is Bina Mathews. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me here, Danielle. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So, Bina, I'm just really curious about one thing. So, you were working with Do Telecoms before you started your own career, your own coaching journey. Tell us and a little bit walk through about your background and what is the catalyst that decided to I want to be a coach and help people.
Okay. So I have to backtrack a bit
Yes.
because, it's like if communication were a merry-go-round, the roundabout,
Hmm.
as they call it, I think, with all the different
Yes.
horses. Very early in my career, I decided I'm going to try every single one of them out so that
Mm-hmm.
I get hands-on experience in every channel of communication. So I've been a journalist. I've run a multimedia studio with my husband. I've been
Mm-hmm.
in PR advertising. I was with Hill and Knowlton here with FP7.
Mm-hmm.
I was a freelancer for Gulf News and
Mm-hmm.
Khaleej Times.
Yes.
Yeah, so all of that came together when I joined the corporate world. And that was way back when Do was launching. So I
Mm-hmm.
managed the PR team at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And really most exciting phase I think that company will ever go through.
Yes.
And then a few years after that, the CEO, Usman Sultan, who is very passionate about his people, he
Mm-hmm.
said, we do such a great job of relating to our stakeholders outside.
Mm-hmm.
We need to bring that in because if our people don't become brand ambassadors, we're losing out on. So then I became head of internal communications and I was at Do overall for almost 12 years.
Mm.
So now that's a long journey,
Yes.
one I never thought I would last that long. But you know how it is in any career. You reach a point at which you plateau. And for me, I'm a bit of a motorhead. So the analogy of getting your wheels stuck in the sand.
Yes.
It's the worst. I need to keep. It's all about forward motion.
Yes.
And so you wake up and thrill of the job isn't just there anymore, and there's
Yeah.
nothing like you can perform your role in the middle of the night if they wake you up. So
Yes.
then I knew something's missing, and I was trying to figure out what it was. The one constant through all my careers is that I have always been mentoring and coaching people,
Mm.
and people joke about it. They used to say you should just quit this job and do that full time, and it was just a joke. And then somehow I never believed in coaching because as a control freak, I used to think it's my life. Who is this random person who's going to come in and tell me how to run it or what to do? And then finally I saw that a couple of very good friends were actually having amazing breakthroughs in their lives because they were going to a coach. And actually they used to come and tell me, look, we're paying that person shitloads of money, man. You tell me the same thing. but but they have those few tips and techniques that help me to cross that last obstacle and
Mhm.
actually act on it. So then I said, okay, let's give it a shot. And I went and looked for the best training institute. It's an American company. They come down here twice a year and train. And in the process of training, I was coached myself.
Mm.
And I discovered the importance of knowing your purpose and being very clear about your goal.
Mm.
And I realized being a coach is what I want to do. And
Yes.
that's the fulfilling role that will, answer the dilemma I was in at that time.
Yes. I'm really curious about one thing because you mentioned about obstacles and you mentioned about purpose, you mentioned about goals. Those three things I believe are very, very big words, especially for those of, people who are still working or maybe they're in their mid-levels career right now, who are somehow lost and somehow stuck as well. Because if you really think about it now, that majority of us are working at home or maybe massive layoffs as well. So these are really questions that people would think about and what is next right now. So I'm just really curious about what is your obstacle back then, and how would people right now was thinking that, oh, this is an obstacle, how can I achieve or go to the next level and maybe know my purpose? What are the tips and tricks that you can share today?
Okay, so for me, like any parent, um, we've built a life based on two incomes, two steady incomes, and
Mm-hmm.
we've raised our children like that. And I think financial insecurity is the main reason we all just stay where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that it's not where we're meant to be, but you're so scared about what you'll do when that regular salary stops coming in
Yes.
that you just don't take the leap of faith. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, it was when I saw that my health, because I was going through a lot of health issues related to stress, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we don't realize,
Yes.
that when we're not in a good place, and what we call congruence in NLP, when your head, your heart, and your gut are not in
Yes.
alignment,
Mm-hmm.
it results in your body is just screaming for help, so you do have bad health. And once I decided I want to be a coach and I started coaching people, I realized that everything was better for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I weighed the two and I said, you know what, on the one hand I trust in God to take care of me and my family, and the other hand I prayed for direction on what I need to do, and I found it. So it was a huge leap of faith that, as
Yes.
they say, the eagle kicks out its babies from the nest when it knows they're ready to fly. Those babies by themselves would never leave the nest,
Yes.
and then the wings would never develop,
Mm.
and they would actually die there. But the mother knows that if they're kicked out into the scary open, they're going to spread those wings and fly. So sometimes we have to, universe helps us, and sometimes we've just got to make ourselves do it.
Understood. So you mentioned about financial insecurity, the reason why that's number one, where why we still go and hang on to our job was making an income, especially here in UAE is quite very challenging if you don't have a job or you don't have a stable income.
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing wrong in working. I believe me myself, there's nothing wrong in working on a job if that's what you're really passionate and really enjoy about.
exactly. Exactly. If it is your purpose, if it brings you joy, by all means. See, I was there happy for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
It's only when I reached that point where I felt, what next? How do I level up
Mm.
personally, and feel like I'm heading towards my own purpose?
Yes.
Then it
And
was no longer the right thing.
what are the steps that you can, maybe give our listeners or audience that was listening on this episode about how to find their purpose, or maybe find their passion even?
Okay, that's exactly what I do with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't know if you've heard of Stephen Covey's 7 habits for great managers.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is know your destination, know
Mm-hmm.
the end.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were doing the course, all of us were rolling our eyes and we're like, of course we know our destination. I want to be rich, I want to be happy, I want to be
Yeah.
healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not a clear goal.
Mm.
What happiness means to you will be very different from what it means to me. What you define as rich will be different for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, setting a destination on your GPS.
Mm.
Just vaguely say a lane, it's just going to take you to the outskirts of a lane and say, okay, you've reached, right? You've got to specify where. And if
Uh-huh.
you see along the way, it gives you very clear directions. You have so many kilometers to go.
Mm-hmm.
And when you reach, because the destination is clear, it says your destination will be on your right in
Mm.
50 meters.
Yes.
Because otherwise, you're going to drive right past it because you don't know you've reached your destination.
Yes.
So, getting
Understood.
clarity on your goal, number one,
Mm-hmm.
and then you will work out the path to it. So, sometimes we tend to turn it on its head, and then we think, I need to sign up for a lot of courses, or I need
Mm.
to get training, I need
Yes.
to read, I need to listen to a lot of self help. We're doing it the other way around. First, we need to decide where we're heading and
Mm-hmm.
then work towards it instead of running in all directions.
Yes, yes. So you mentioned about being having knowing where the destination would be. So what's next? So now I know where my destination would be, where I'm going to. What's next?
Okay, and if I could just backtrack one step before that, because
Sure.
so many times people come to me very sure that this is my destination. I know
Mm-hmm.
this is what I want. Now, the most important thing for all of us is our values, our core values.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that is inculcated in us from 0 to 5, ages 0 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people who are going to be parents or have just got a baby, your value inculcation starts now, not when they're older. Because after 5, you stop absorbing values actually. We form beliefs after that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the values, we lose touch with what our core values are, but they are the compass which guides us. So when we're setting a goal that is not congruent with our personal value, one, we will
Mm-hmm.
either know the goal, we will know how we need to get there, but just can't seem to move forward on it. Or two, you've set the goal, but somehow it doesn't seem like the right one. So
Mm-hmm.
in the coaching process, we identify your values,
Mm-hmm.
then we look at your goal and see if they match.
Mm-hmm.
So one is make sure that the goal you think is your goal is actually your real goal.
Mm. So how will people find if that is their real goal?
So like I said, once we've identified your core values, and
Mm-hmm.
then we go to your criteria for what
Mm-hmm.
qualifies your goal to
Mm-hmm.
be such an important thing,
Mm-hmm.
many people find, oh, actually, it wasn't that important. Actually, wait on, hang on a second.
Sure, sure,
That's
sure.
not, this is what I want. So, it works out organically in the process of coaching.
Mm-hmm. Understood. So you mentioned.
So sorry, to
Go
go
ahead.
back to your question, you
Yeah.
asked me, now they know where their goal is, what do they do next?
Yes, yes.
So they need to see, if I know where my goal is, why am I not able to move towards it? So
Mm-hmm.
then you come back to self awareness, identifying the limiting beliefs that are holding you back.
Mm.
And
Okay.
then the great news about limiting beliefs is that they can be converted to empowering ones. The same belief that held you back can be the one that propels you forward.
Mm, interesting. So you mentioned, so if I understand it correctly, because I wanted to really clarify this and make it clear for everybody as well to, because I interview a lot of coaches as well. And there were some differences, similarities as well. So number one is to get to know a destination where your goal would be, identify your values, and most of these values are being developed on maybe, when you're still 0 to 5, when you're developing your life when you're leaving your parents. And I think most of the people doesn't know this actually, that most of the beliefs, most of the actions that we're doing right now are ingrained to us during our childhood. So
Yes. It's amazing how I'm working with people in their 40s and 50s, and in
hmm
their head, particular situation,
hmm
it's their 9-year-old self that is holding the reins and controlling the way they think and feel.
yes.
So
Go ahead, sorry.
with NLP, we know we can't go back and change the past,
hmm
but with NLP, the amazing thing is
hmm
we can go back and change the emotions and the connections that we have formed in relation to that event.
hmm
So, where in the past that event created a limiting belief or
hmm
created this negative emotion around it, we can go back and change that so that now, when you come back to where you are in the present, you are no longer carrying that baggage, and that event is no longer hindering you from moving forward.
All right, awesome. So now that you challenge your own beliefs, so you're replacing it with empowering ones, so people can move forward. I'm just really curious about, because now we are on the COVID-19 situation. What are the
Mhm.
beliefs that people should maybe replace or maybe start working on right now? And
That's a great question. Excuse me. Because um, any crisis situation, we tend to go into our default, knee
Mm-hmm.
jerk reaction of, oh my God, why is this happening?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait for this to be over. But if we just take a deep breath and pause,
Mm-hmm.
we can take stock of the situation and think, you know what, how many times over the past year alone have we said, I just wish I had more time?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody recommends a book and you say, I don't have the time. Recommends you take a dancing class and you say, like, I don't have the time. We're constantly saying we don't have time. And now we're blessed with abundant time. And our first response, because it's different from what we've had normally, is to say, why? And why can't things go back to normal? So instead, let's just change the filter, put in the new one, and look at it and say, wow, every single time I said I don't have enough time has been answered, and now I have a whole ton of it. So,
Yes,
what are the things that I put away, put off, saying I had no time? List them out.
exactly.
And the thing is, we as human beings, we need structure, we need to feel in control. And I think that's the main thing that's freaking everyone out, is that this is an external thing that's being applied. we don't have we perceive that we don't have any control about it. I was just talking to a student who is suffering from claustrophobia, and he was saying, I can't, I'm just taking pills and sleeping through the day because the thought that I'm in my room is freaking me out. And I told him, you have the choice. Just tell yourself, I can go outside if I want to. I choose to stay indoors because I choose to be healthy and safe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just that choice of word makes all the difference, from I can't go outside to I choose to be inside.
Yes, absolutely.
It's you
And I think
asserting.
now, absolutely, I totally agree with you. And I think now that we are blessed with so much time right now, now is the time to really reflect on where the destination or what will be the next 3 or 6 months will be happening towards our life, with our career, with our health. Now that since the first quarter of 2020 really, gave us a massive, massive, not just headache, but really emotional downturn in terms of like the economy, our income, and now we are working at home in isolation. So people like you actually,
Daniel, could I just reframe everything that you just said? So the first quarter of 2020
yes.
challenged us to dig deep and
Mm-hmm.
find talents and skills and resources and
Mm-hmm.
abilities that we didn't know we had.
Mm-hmm.
It challenged us to enter new arenas, to get into new avenues of work
Mm-hmm.
or self expression that we
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have unless we were forced to do this by the situation. So 2020 may have just brought out the best in each of us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know that you're not going to learn something new unless your back's against the wall and that's your only choice. So
Mm-hmm.
we've been put in that situation, and just look at all of us. I mean, this whole uh, uh, being more active on social media and going, like, for me, that was something I kept putting off, and
Mm-hmm.
now it is the only way. So guess what? I've got to step up, right? I
Right.
would have put it off for some more time. So if we just look at it like that, then it becomes really, really so much more exciting, and we can convert it into an adventure. If you think, I've always felt bad I couldn't spend more time with my family or loved ones or friends or whoever, this is a way. I know friends who have not been in touch when they could go and meet each other anytime, but now because they're feeling the need to, connect, they're now connecting on Zoom, they're connecting online, they're actually having face-to-face chats virtually when they
Yeah.
just couldn't be bothered to do it in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, let's look at it like that. Let's look at it
Understood.
like that. And this period will become a very productive one for all of us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm just really curious about one thing. Now we just tackled about how to find your passion, how to find your purpose. Why is it important to know your values and really unlock that self-limiting beliefs that is hindering you to grow as a person, especially now that we are in
Mhm.
isolation. We have a lot of time to think. And it's really
Yeah.
important to provide really positivity, and show people that there are productive ways to do at home, not just watching Netflix or maybe going near the fridge. Well, there's nothing wrong with it, but of course, I believe that always, when you are doing in excess of what you're currently doing, it becomes terrible for your, health, your wealth as
Too
well.
much of a good thing.
Hmm. Absolutely. So, what are your thoughts? Who are your inspiration? Who should people go to right now? And, like you, for instance, you're helping people to, coach their lives, and, just who are your inspiration, and maybe give us some tips and advice as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling people to do, because people are saying, should we wait till this is all over and then I start coaching? I'm saying, look, the only way you're going to get ready for post Corona
Mm-hmm.
is by using this time.
Mm-hmm.
Once life gets back to the new normal, whatever that's going to be,
Yes.
again, you're on the hamster wheel. And then you're going to be regretting not having used this time. So the best way to prevent a regret is to use the time now, right? So
Yes.
I think use this time. Like companies have downtime to do stock taking.
Mm-hmm.
This is our downtime, right? So
Mm-hmm.
let's just do some stock taking. Do an audit of yourself. Where are you now? Is it where you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Is when you're away from work, how does it make you feel? How are you feeling about what's going to come after this?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that as the time which could actually be used to make your dreams come true? If
Mm-hmm.
so, what do you need to do?
Mm-hmm.
Once you've identified that, you will use this time to do those things. If you want to switch careers and you know that you needed to get certified in something, for instance,
Yes.
use this time. You can do your research, you can compare the places that are offering the courses, and then you can actually sign up and get started on it, because you're never going to be able to get this much time once you're doing your full time job again. So
Yes.
do a self assessment, audit yourself, identify your strengths and weaknesses, identify your current state, and if it's where you want to be, if it's not, where do you want to be? What will it take
Mm-hmm.
to get to where you want to be? Can you get started on it now?
Awesome. I love that. Self-assessment, becoming self-aware of what, your strengths. Like when you're doing a business, it's like you're doing on your own SWOT analysis of
Yep.
yourself. Um, so where do you go to if you wanted to really, because I'm actually writing down notes, so if you're just going here and there, and where who inspires Coach Bina?
Okay. Funny enough, I just answered this on another podcast as well.
Yes.
And uh, so my answer will be the same. It's my parents
Mm,
who who had a very strong sense of purpose. And my dad ran an NGO for the whole of Africa
yes.
and the Mid and Asia. And so
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with seeing a life of service. And I think that's what led also to my state of unease towards the end of my corporate tenure, because I felt like it's such a self centered life. I'm not doing anything for anyone else. So, the sense of purpose and how important it is to find it and then to follow it, that came from them. And the couple, Marilu and Jerry CV, who run the coaching course that I told you about,
Yes.
they have been doing it for 45 years, and
Wow.
they don't just teach, they don't do it as a commercial thing, they do it with the genuine desire to change
Mhm.
people's lives, because coaching can transform lives.
Yes,
And so
exactly.
when they are teaching you, they are teaching you with that passion and putting in you that sense of, you now have the power to go out and make people's lives better. So that inspires me that after 45 years of doing it, their compass is still set to their true north. And you can follow through on it. So yeah,
Uh,
professionally, that would be them. Personally,
yeah.
parents.
Yes, and I believe right now, especially with the transparency of social media, if you are not authentic to, to people who are your audience would be, or even yourself, then it really is not sustainable. And I always believe that if you are an expert in your field, or you plan to be, at least don't just tell people, show people that what you're saying is, you also practice it, because it's the best way to, really earn credibility as well.
Yeah, and as they say, you can fool some of the people some of the time. Can't fool all of the people all of the time. So be
Yeah,
authentic. Yeah.
exactly. And I'm really curious, before my, just twin final questions. What is your failure? What is your worst failure?
Which one do I pick? Could have given me a heads up on that. Okay. See, the thing is, and this sounds like an HR answer, right? But
Yes,
it's the
yes,
truth.
yes.
It's the truth. I stopped considering things failures.
Mm-hmm.
I really genuinely did, because I have realized that every failure, so-called failure, was a learning experience. It
Mm-hmm.
sounds cliche, but it is. It's in how you look at it.
Yes.
If I hadn't done that, if I hadn't messed that up, I would not know what I know today. For instance, my husband and I ran a multimedia studio for a couple of years here in Dubai, and we
Mm-hmm.
were very good at our work. He's a broadcast professional,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a copywriter, so, all that stuff.
Yes, yes.
Very good. But we realized we have zero business acumen. We really stuck to the business side. And that's when we stopped and we went into full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And that has helped me now, because I knew exactly what I need to work on before I set up a business. So
Mm-hmm.
the Bina setup, Bina Mathews Consulting, is definitely not that Bina from all those years back. So
Yes.
it wasn't a failure. It was like an MBA for me.
Yeah. I mean, there's one interview that I did with Lucy Dabo in the past. What she told me was that, how will you know what you don't know? And how will you apply if you don't know? you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
So
yes,
it's really true. And
before my last and final question to you, because we're almost at the end of time, where can people find you, and how can people find more about your work?
okay. So I'm Coach Bina on all social media channels. Coach
Mm-hmm.
BIN.
Mm-hmm.
And my website is coachbina.com. So
Coachbina.com.
very simple. LinkedIn, it's Bina Mathews.
And you also have your own show that you did in the past, I guess, where
Yes,
there
Power
was
Bites. Power Bites. Yes.
Sorry,
And Power
what's that?
Bites.
Power bites, yes.
Yeah. So that was, we have a wealth of people who are leaders in their fields, and people don't have access to them and their learnings and experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Power Bites gives you access to them. And talking about using this time, I was putting off podcasts for so long, Danielle,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been following all your messages on how important it is and agreeing with you and still saying, yeah, I should. And now that I have time, I'm actually going to move the whole of the first season to a podcast platform. So there you go. That's one thing that's come out of this for me. Season 2 will be coming out in a couple of weeks,
Awesome. I'm
with
looking
even
forward.
addressing. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much for mentioning it.
Thank you. So you heard it first right here in the Drive to Succeed. So
Okay,
that's
you
an
have been
exclusive.
watching all the episodes. Thank you. So nice.
You're welcome. So my last and final question would be, if everything is stripped away from you, your coaching business, you need to start all over again. If maybe you didn't succeed in this venture, what would be your main drive to succeed?
Um, like I said, my higher purpose. I would have to find a way that allowed me to express that and fulfill that.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, I have two daughters, and
Mm,
I believe that children do as we do, not as we say. So I'm very conscious of the fact that every decision I make, everything that I say and do, my kids are just quietly absorbing it, and it's shaping who they're going to be. So if
yes.
I were to say this didn't work and give up, that's the message they would get, right? So that's another incentive for me to make sure that I practice what I preach,
Yes.
and that I become the person I know I'm meant to be,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can see what and I'm very honest with them. I'm very honest with them. I do not sugarcoat anything. They know all the crap that you go through in
Yes.
a working environment. They know that adults don't turn out to be nicer than when they were kids. They, I tell them everything because I want them to face life head on. So
Yes.
yeah, that would be my my um,
Main drive to success.
responsibility to fulfill my own purpose, and two, to be a good role model.
Perfect. I really love that. There's genuine authenticity in that, and I really respect. As I'm not a parent yet, but I always believe that how people will succeed in life is a matter of if the parent really did their job properly. So for you,
Yeah.
having that answer and also trying not and working on to make it what you're saying, what you do, and what you say as well. It's really. I mean, I'm really proud of your daughters that you have a mother like you, and of course a
Oh,
father as
bless
well,
you.
like your husband.
Of course, no, the father's very important in a girl's life because
Hmm.
her whole perception of how her equation with men works out depends on the dad. That's how it was for me. Because my
Hmm.
dad never made me feel I'm any different because I'm a female. I have two younger brothers, but
Hmm.
I was a tomboy all my life. I learned to ride a motorbike before them. And my husband does the same thing with my kids. They are just raised to be whatever they want, however they want. And so guys in the future are going to have a hard time because they're going to live up to their dad.
Understood. So I think that's it for today. We're gonna hang out after this recording, and yeah, we'll publish it ASAP because now we need more people like you. So once again, thank you so much, Bina or Coach Bina, for staying with us on the show. See you in the next episode.
My pleasure, totally, Daniel. Thank you.
Awesome.